This is Bergen in Norway, and one way to get here is by using a ferry, and the people here are actually driving on board now. It has been raining now for a very long time here, and the weather is far from perfect here, but I just had a few minutes of no rain here, so I'm doing my best. This is the view, by the way. It's a beautiful, beautiful place here when the sun is out, but there is not much sun today. Anyway, that's the ferry, and what I will do is actually walk over really quick to the other side here. If you need to cut your hair, you can actually do that here. Another interesting aspect here is that this boat here, or ferry, is 100% electric. And I think he actually plugged into the power grid here, because this one has been here for, you know, maybe 30 minutes. So I guess the batteries are fully charged now, and he's on his way. This one is leaving, and it will take another, you know, 25-30 minutes to the other side here. We're kind of looking north, and the little town of Bergen would be, as soon as you hit land on the other side here, you have another like 45 minutes to 60 minutes into Bergen. And because this boat is electric here, it's very quiet. Can't believe it how quiet this one is. And when you go on board, if you're a passenger, you don't pay anything. It's all free. You pay for the car if you bring a car. And I think it's prepaid also, by the way. And this little community here has been here forever. And if you look very carefully here, these homes here are built of wood mostly, in traditional Norwegian style. And I've been out here many times before, fishing out here. You have good fishing here, you can catch a lot of fish. But a day like this is kind of in between, because the rain was just pouring down yesterday. And right now the sun is literally hiding behind these dark rain clouds. But I don't give up. This is YouTube. I need to push forward, so I will go into town. And it's a little town. I'm not sure how many people live here. Probably maybe under 1,000. I don't know. It's tiny. This is the beginning of the downtown area, if there is a downtown. And one thing I noticed here is that in this house, at the bottom there, it says police. And that's a new thing. They never really had a police station here, so I guess if you're a crook, they will come from this place and they will arrest you if they can find you. Because I'm sure they have only 1 or 2 guys working here, right? And then we have a bunch of other companies here. They have, I think, an electrical company in one of these buildings. Yeah, I think it's the first White House here. And then the second White House, I'm not sure what's in there, but the third one you see in the background, that's the bank. So you hit the bank, then these guys will come after you, because these police guys are tough. In the middle of this guest harbor they have here, they also have this one. They basically say it's a, I'm not even sure how to translate it, but it has to do with you going and hopping into the water. You could, here, let's take a look inside. You could actually change to your swimming suit in here. And I don't know if this is a permanent thing or if they just put it up here, because every summer they have some kind of a festival here and people do crazy stuff. They probably go out swimming in this ice cold water, but you know, after all, this is Norway and people are tough. They're not afraid. This is pretty much the warmest it gets here. And we have a nice swan right here. And you can see these are very common here, these mute swans in Sweden and Norway. And you see them everywhere you have water. And I'm thinking the best view here would be from right here. And I'm sure you agree. You have a restaurant in this White House. And the big red building in the upper background there is they call it kind of the young people house. You can rent that, you can have all kind of weddings, parties, and do whatever you like to do up there. It's a nice place though. And like I said before, when the sun is out, this is just great, but it's not so great when the rain is just coming down heavily here. All right, so I think I will go into the main area. People are leaving here. The boat is starting up. This is really man stuff. You see dirty machinery. You have rope, tools, some kind of controller here where you can actually lift this one up, and an interesting hole here going down in the lower part of this boat. And you can smell oil and diesel right here. And this is actually how they stay connected here. But what I'm doing, I'm actually walking back. I'm here on the side of this white building here, which is technically a restaurant in here, and it looks like it was built in 1923 according to the sign up there. They also have the spelling, the old spelling of this place. You see the double A? That creates another sound, so it's pronounced våge. That's the old way of doing it. And a lot of the stuff you have on this island, this is actually an island, and in many other locations from here and south, and actually north, is a lot of Viking stuff. Everything here goes back to the year of, you know, 800, 900, and so on and so on. So every person here you see is related to the Vikings. Even though it's early morning, nobody is here, it's a Sunday, so people are still at home. So the Vikings are sleeping. I can't believe that. I'm passing the savings bank they have right here. And this little road here will take you out to pretty much, what is it, the northwestern tip of this island here. And it's a tiny little road, and it's very fun to walk there. So if you want to have alcohol here, this is the place. They say restaurant and bar, 20 meters. Okay, you go down here, you order your beer or whiskey, cognac, or whatever you like. So this building here, the Young People House, right, was built in 1923. And we have a traffic jam here Sunday morning. a car just passed, and that's like insane traffic here in the morning. And the little store is right here. It's not open at this time of the day. I think they open maybe in an hour or so. It's late morning, but they are still not open. I'm not even sure if they will open here. They say they open Monday through Friday to 10 and Saturdays, and maybe it's closed. Don't expect anything to be open on a Sunday, by the way. Don't. Just forget about it. Enjoy your stay. And this is a nice place. I will go down and check it out right down here. You have some tracks here going from the ocean up in here. So if you have a boat, it's actually easier to get it in. But you know, the water here, I don't think it will ever freeze. It's salty. And this part of Norway is kind of warm. They have these mild winters. But this is a very, very typical and very nice view, by the way. Imagine you own one of these beautiful homes here. Your boat is like 10 feet outside, or 2 meters, like they say here. That would be really nice, right? And it looks like they can fill up gasoline right here, because many of these more sophisticated boats here, they use gasoline. And I can go out here without tripping, I think. I'm so happy we have you know, a few minutes of beautiful sunshine here. I almost gave up, but I hope it's back. Being in Norway is always great, by the way, especially in the summertime. If you come here in November, that's a different story. But in the summertime like this, when the sun is shining, it's just the best of the best. And you should go and buy some local food here. It's normally very healthy, actually. It's pretty good. Lots of fish, shrimps, cheese. They eat goat cheese is a big thing here, and the sliced salami is also made from sheep, actually, and it's very, very good. And that's Norway. And you can do 10,000 other things, but I'm just saying there are a few things you can buy in the store. Not to mention Norwegian beer. Ooh, that's good. It's very good. Many of the houses, the older ones, have roofs like this. Basically thin slabs of stone. And of course, they are very strong and they will last forever until they break, like in this corner. But that's probably man-made. I mean, traditionally they could last 100 years easily. And you can see that as well up there on this big party house up there. There is a word up there. It says Vinmonopolet, which is basically where you buy booze, right? That's your liquor store, the one and only in town. I think you can buy beer in the store, but if you want to buy the real deal, you have to go to this one and only store here in town. If you go down this road here, you will be able to kind of drive around this island here, and it comes in here to this little place, and it turns here and it goes up to the administrative center of this island here, which is a few miles up the road here. And if you need gasoline, it will be down here. I don't know if this is the one and only, But I'll tell you one thing, you don't find too many gas stations here because it's a small place. You fill up your car, it will last a month, right? Because the driving you do is like 2 miles a day maximum. Right next to the gas station here you actually have the other store. They have only 2 stores, and this one is open today. They say it opens 12 o'clock, stays open to 8 o'clock. And I think I have 10 minutes more of sunshine, so I will actually go up one of these tiny little roads here and see if I can come closer to the water, because after all Norway is about the ocean and the mountains, of course, but I think what I can do today is basically ocean, because there are no mountains here really. You have to drive, I would say, from Bergen maybe a couple of hours to get up to the really big stuff. I was thinking maybe I should sneak out here to this Bergen's Nearset, which is up here, and hopefully we have a nice view from up there. It's definitely a cool view here from up here, but the sun is slowly disappearing. One thing you can expect to see all over Norway is this. Lots of sheep. Yeah, we have more down here, and they really love to communicate. And this is the size of the road. It's a typical road here on the island. It's like 7 feet wide, maybe 8 at most. And wherever you go, you're never far from the ocean itself. Hi guys. And this one has like one of these bells around the neck. Actually, we have more than one with a bell. This one also has a bell. And yeah, I can smell you guys, definitely. Most of the time I would say they are kind of white, even though this crew here is completely black. It's extremely nice. They also have lots and lots and lots of these older walls, and they are mostly covered with moss because these are very old. It goes back hundreds of years. And what I'm planning to do here is kind of just to take a look here, if I can, before the rain is coming down here, and see what I can find down here. I managed to get around to the other side of this bay here, and the ferry seems to be back. Right now I can see cars are driving on board on that one, and it's leaving probably in a few minutes here. And the view is just crazy good here. And imagine you have one of these boat houses here right next to the ocean. You could actually, if you are really wild, live in them, okay? You can be totally off the grid. Nobody will ever find you. And if they are coming for you, you can escape on the ocean. You just need a fast getaway boat, right? So that's how they live here. and it's so green here, so it's ridiculous, and that's because it's raining all the time. And we still have all kind of flowers here. These kind of purple ones are really nice. We have some yellowish flowers too. I see some white stuff up here, and that's very typical. And now it's actually also the blueberry season. If you find the right spot, you could go out and pick a lot of blueberries. They show us a satellite picture here over the farm here, and what they are saying here is that originally the name was Tysnes, and that's the name that named the entire island here, pretty much. This is also a very, very old area, one of the original and oldest, let's call it Viking farms, or even before the Vikings actually. It goes actually back to, I would say, the Iron Age, like that. People have been here. They also had an old church here, and that's the reason I'm standing kind of in the middle of a graveyard here. That church is no longer here. I think it was ruined in some kind of storm or whatever back in the days. They built a second one, and I think they kind of moved it somewhere. Anyway, so we are standing here right next to the ocean, because after all, the ocean was the very important place here for all kind of transportation in the past. You need to keep in mind, I mean, even today, look at the road here. It's very, very narrow, and if you go back 1,000 years, they didn't have any roads because they didn't have any cars, right? But they had Viking ships. So there you have it, right? And I know for a fact they have a big stone up here from the Viking age. I can see it clearly from here, but I'm not sure how to get up there. It's pretty much 200 yards away. Yeah, I don't know, and it's super wet, so I'm not sure what to do here. Maybe you go out here, because there is a gate here in the wall, and maybe you pass this root cellar and you go up here. So we have an old burial site here from the Iron Age or the Viking Age. And the Viking Age is basically 800 to year 1000 or 1100, depending on how you see it, right? And this is somebody's private residence. I don't want to go in here, but at least you get the picture. The old Tysnes, and it's still standing today. So these walls are really, really old. Right now I'm, I would say, 3 kilometers from the little village here, and I'm actually driving back into town here. But the road you see is a very, very typical little road here on this island. And I would call this the loop road, because this will take you one loop around the entire island. But it will take a few hours really to do it right. And if the weather is good, you have many reasons to stop. There are so many interesting things to see. And again, most of the stuff you see actually goes back in time a lot, and you have a lot of historic locations here. I went down to the water, but I couldn't really find a place where to park, so I'm going back up here on this major road here. It's really fun to drive on these roads. And where am I? Well, I'm pretty close to the church here in town, and I think they have a mass going on or something like that. I will eventually try to get up there if I survive this drive here. and I'm back up here by the main highway. And we have the church up to the left here. What you see here is the current church here in town. The history doesn't go back to, you know, more than 150 years for this particular building here, but it's actually true. They had another church or several other churches before this one. Not exactly in this location. I would say it's pretty much 2 kilometers in this direction here. And those older churches go back to, you know, probably 1100, something like that, when Christianity came to Norway. But today this is what we have here, right next to this little stream here, behind the fence here.